Hey everybody, this is Matthew, and I want to thank you again for getting the chance to spend time with you for a couple of hours, I think 3 hours, and talk about really how to create that sales culture that you want. Now, I've shot a 3-part series because we have 3 different topics to talk about, and the first topic is reset. So let me tell you what reset stands for. Let me tell you what it is for. And so reset really stands for how to reset a relationship where somebody is not performing the way you want them to. Well, anytime you change things or you have to reset an expectation with somebody, I want you to use this little acronym to help you have that conversation. So here's how it goes. R stands for responsibility. You're going to take responsibility for everything that's happened up until now. I know that doesn't necessarily make sense, but I'll show you why in a minute. E in reset stands for experience. What are you experiencing that you don't want to be experiencing anymore? S is standards. Standards is what is the standard you're expecting. The next E is for expectation going forward. And then lastly, T is transfer of ownership, which just means you're going to transfer who owns the responsibility of getting this done from you, who's been tolerating low performance or something you don't like, into them owning fixing it. Okay? So let me give you an example of how that conversation might sound. And let me use an example. Let's say I have a toxic salesperson on the team. Well, what I might say is, if I sat Johnny, my toxic salesperson, down, I might say, Johnny, I've got to tell you that, first of all, we've got to have a little bit of a reset, but I want to start with the fact that your sales are one of the best in the company. I realize that when you were brought on, and everything I've encouraged you to do is get sales, and that is exactly what you've done. However, it's kind of my fault. I forgot to say, you got to support the team. You got to show up for meetings. Otherwise, it makes it really, kind of hard on me. So the experience has been, that you're not coming to certain meetings. Some of the conversations you're having with people inside the company, I'm hearing about as complaints. And that's, I've really sort of tolerated that, and because obviously you're so great at sales, but we got to fix that. So the standard really is you're attending the weekly meeting. You are really upholding our culture of sales, of supporting not just you, but other people. And that's really the sort of the standard, right? So the expectation going forward is, Johnny, if you're okay with this, please let me know. If you're not, and we can have that conversation. But the expectation going forward is you're making those meetings. You're supportive of other people. I'm not getting these complaints anymore. Now, Johnny, could you imagine what the natural consequences would be if those things aren't happening? Like, what, not just, you, but what happens to the company and to the employees if over time, sort of we have this toxic environment where people are complaining, to other people about you? What happens? Let Johnny work on that for a little bit, and then maybe help him a little bit and say, well, maybe people quit, maybe we have high turnover. We've got great sales, but we've got high turnover, which creates all sorts of economic problems for the business. We don't want that, do we? So let's look at the experience we want to have, which is you're there, you're supporting, as well as all the selling you're doing. What could you imagine the upside to the business being if people stick around longer and they're happy and they want to support you? What might be the upside? And then give them some upsides. And then lastly, transfer ownership. And that looks like this. Okay, now that we've had this conversation, I am taking the responsibility off of myself for tolerating and really maybe even sending the wrong message to you. I really want you to now own it completely. So when should we check in on this to see how you're doing? And I'm going to provide feedback from the team on their new experience with you, as well as feedback from you being in the meeting. So Johnny, could you imagine what the natural consequences are if these things don't happen and you don't take ownership? Let Johnny answer and support him. Listen, this isn't a conversation to do anything to be a heavy on Johnny here. It's to make sure Johnny understands that you're resetting the relationship and you're transferring ownership of these things that must happen. Now, as a leader, it's really up to you to decide what must happen in your business to make it a healthy business. So with that is reset, right? Simply put again, that is you take full responsibility, you talk about the experience, you set the new standard, you talk about the new expectation, and then you transfer ownership. And over time, with check-ins, Johnny's either going to reset or maybe he's going to go be a toxic salesperson somewhere else. But remember, it comes down to you setting the standard. Only have these reset conversations if you're prepared to stick with them. If you have any questions, reach out, give me a call, and I'll be happy to walk you through your situation. Thanks so much.